Investigation Division is dedicated to helping Tennesseans if they discover they have been a victim of odometer fraud. For more information, contact your local THP district office. Don't be a victim. Think before you buy. This message is brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Patrol's Auto Theft Unit.
Since 1941, serving the public interest. WJZM Radio, Clarksville, Tennessee. The views and opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of the staff, management, or sponsors of WJZM Radio.
I got a charge again. I'm calling Fletcher Long. They searched the car again. They couldn't find nothing wrong. I got a charge again. I'm calling Fletcher Long. They searched the car again. They couldn't find nothing wrong. Let me talk to my lawyer. Get him on the phone. The bow tie killer, aka Fletcher Long. When it comes to the law, I know my rights and when they're wrong. When it comes to going to court, I tell my lawyer to hold on. Cause me and the judges, we don't.
Welcome to the long version, Dean.
Yes.
I'm still at 283. Dean is with us from the Doctor's Diet Clinic, located 231 Dover Road. Local number is 931-906-555 and 1-800-778-DIET, which is 3638.
Mm-hmm. But that's not a bad thing.
No. Is that or 3438? Diet, D-I-E.
There you go.
3438, and you shorted them a 5 on the local number.
Yeah, there's 4 5s.
Yeah.
906
We're going to get him a cue card, yeah.
5 5.
Most people know there's 4 numbers.
But anyway,
okay.
I'm still getting thinner. My clothes are still getting bigger.
Are you
bigger
working out at the gym?
I haven't been.
I mean, you have been.
I have been, but I mean, last week I worked out twice. I haven't so far this week.
Yeah.
But I did go yesterday and have Chinese food, which has a lot of sodium in it.
It has a lot of monosodium glutamate.
Yeah, so...
Which is very hard to process.
Darn it, I cannot help it. I love Chinese food. But I had that yesterday. That's probably attributable to...
It will make you retain water.
Water, right.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to have a big week next week, but I'm thrilled to death with the progress, and everybody should go down if they want to take their life back and rescue themselves from fat prison, which is what I'm doing. And Diet Doctors Clinic, of course, brings on the Wednesday broadcast of the long version, and we're thrilled at that. Plus the fact I get to hang out with Dean for 2 hours, which is Dean is a brilliant conversationalist.
Where's my check?
Well, where's mine?
Oh.
But anyway, where's John's?
Let's just talk about something else.
Let's do that. I saw that ABC. I knew recently.
The checks in the mail.
I'm not falling for that. A new opinion poll has come out, and Hillary Clinton's approval rating is at a all-time low of like 41%, and Trump's approval rating. I've never seen two presidential frontrunners in a two-party system, which is basically what we are.
Yeah.
Suffer from the disapproval of these two particular candidates. And Gary Johnson, who's working to get on the debate stage coming up, he has to get to 15% of the popular vote and he's at 11, is projecting that he can win in November, which I think is a bit ambitious. But, as I look at the new approval, or I'm going to call it a disapproval rating because it's more of a disapproval rating, I don't know that that's all that far-fetched.
Yeah, I mean, how far does he have to go?
He's got 4 percentage points, but to get on that stage, I don't know that I've ever seen an election cycle quite like this one. I wasn't around for 1800. I've heard.
I think John was.
Yeah, John might have been. Interesting story that I pulled from
was a good one.
International Wire. See, I told you Dean was funny. Interesting story I pulled from the Wire. First of all, the two women that have been charged in this crime are absolutely, really, really, I don't want sex evolution to get mad at me.
Pleasant to look at.
They are hot.
No.
They are really hot.
I'll just cut to the chase.
So they go on vacation. They are from Quebec. One of them's name is Isabelle Lagrasse, and the other one is Melina Robert.
Is he kin to Emerald?
I don't know. And they're from Quebec, and they have been charged with importing 95 kilos, which is 200 pounds, of cocaine.
Ooh, Coca-Cola.
That's a lot.
That has a street value of American dollars, $23 million. They're calling it the largest seizure of narcotics. They were on a cruise ship. They were trying to bring it in on a cruise ship. And they got caught because they kept posting statuses of their trip on Instagram.
That's real smart.
Isn't that? I mean, but that is so often now. It says right there that there's an Andre Tamine who was with them. It says the trio could receive a maximum penalty of life imprisonment, ending a halcyon-looking journey down under. Authorities, the reference to halcyon, I'm not quite sure what that reference means, although it does ring a bell. Authorities aren't yet able to establish how the trio are connected or where and when the drugs made their way onto the cruise ship. But they've got several pictures in this news story, and the trio were on the MSC Princess, a cruise that began a 2-month journey from England. According to the Toronto Star, it made several stops on the way in North America, the Caribbean, and South America, a trip that's been covered in the social media accounts of both Lagros and Rouberge. Oddly, it looks like any other collection of holiday snaps on Instagram, whether that be frolicking on the beaches of the Pacific or standing on top of the cliffs in Ecuador. And, I mean, they've got the pictures with the story. I mean, these are not people that you look at and think, oh, I bet she's a major kilo drug smuggler. But anyway, the Australian authorities worked with the United States Department of Homeland Security, the New Zealand Customs Service, and the Canadian Border Services in the operation, identifying the trio as high-risk passengers. These syndicates should be on notice that the Australian Border Force is aware of all of the different ways they attempt to smuggle drugs into our country, and we are working with a range of international agencies to stop them, said Australian Border Force Assistant Commissioner Clive Murray in a statement. Look at this. Here's the, and if you're not following us on Ustream, sorry. Sorry, Lee. Look at the amount of cocaine right there in that suitcase.
Officer, I've been eating powdered donuts.
The Toronto Star notes that Canadian cocaine traffickers had an interest in Australia, with seizures increasing in the country in recent years. The Instagram handles have been omitted by the agency reporting the story, saying that they've chosen to omit the handles. I imagine the handles must be something risque. But
like Doper 1 and Doper 2?
I don't know. They must be something more risque than that.
I see.
John, are you seeing the pictures of these smugglers?
Yes, sir.
These are not. First of all, when you're young and beautiful, male or female, the world is your oyster, it seems. But these are not two women. I guarantee you they're about to dime out on this 63-year-old. Who's willing to bet that the story's going to be, we didn't know there were 95 kilos in our luggage.
He said it was Efferdent.
Yeah, we thought it was peppermint.
Yeah.
But these are not.
They look like they're having a good time.
They had a good time, and I'm glad they did.
Well, you know that
Australia would not be a good country in which to go to prison, I wouldn't think.
Probably not.
I can't think any country would be a good country to go to prison in.
I'm not looking.
Look away. Look away. These pictures are not exceedingly risque, but these are women that if you refer to them as hot, that was the reference for which they were.
That one's for
they were working for that reference. You just don't
that one
package the product in this manner if you're not hoping to draw attention from the unfairer gender.
That's why they put Twinkies in clear cellophane.
You must, let me ask you this question.
All right.
As someone who does the weight counseling and stuff at the Doctor's Diet Clinic.
Yeah.
Twinkies and donuts were your thing, weren't they?
They were my best buds.
We all have different we all have different appetites when it comes to food, and many people don't understand this because they've never really been fat people. Dean, you and I are fat people.
Yes.
We will always be fat
Yep.
people, and if we ever throw caution to the wind and eat what we desire, we will always be fat people. It is easy for us to gain weight. I mean, it is no problem at all.
It is not a problem at all.
And if you have an affinity for donuts and Twinkies, good boy, howdy, can you put it on, can't you?
Yeah.
I mean, that is...
And those no-bake chocolate cookies with that oatmeal in it.
Those were your things?
Yeah, we could.
One listener says, I bet Carrie Gasaway is listening to you right now. She may be. Carrie Gasaway is presently being housed in the Montgomery County Detention Facility, serving whatever her sentence is. I really haven't followed it. I know that I'm mentioned in every single news story about her. I had
It's
nothing.
90 days.
I had nothing to
It's
do
either
with
90
this.
or 60.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
one
remember.
of those two. I believe it's 90.
But
think you're right,
it's
John.
about a hockey season. But anyway,
Yeah.
I get mentioned in every story, and I was mentioned in this one too. There was a story that came out in the Leaf, and I didn't know about it till someone sent it to me because
read it.
I don't read the Leaf.
Just to see if you were in there, and you were. You made the news again.
I was in there again, which they're really helping me, and I encourage them to keep it up because I've learned that now in radio there really is no such thing as bad coverage.
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah, and
Donald
particularly not in radio. I mean, my ratings, and I track my ratings through the Warriors for Justice website, but my ratings spike every time I appear in one of these stories.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is they're trying to drag me through the mud, and they're really helping me, so keep it up. If they want to do a feature piece, I am available for an interview.
So instead of Spike Lee, you're Spike Long.
Spike Long. Well, anyway, I never read the Leaf. Stupid newspaper. It has nothing in it. But somebody sent me the article that she was turned away when she tried to report
To an Alabama.
in Alabama, and is now having to serve the sentence in Montgomery County. Now,
Your favorite state.
And so, yeah, they've just gone up in my estimation.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want her either. But anyway, so she's apparently, and I am told by people in the sheriff's department that the long version is far and away
Really?
the highest rated show among the inmates at the Montgomery County Detention Facility, and with being no more popular than Carrie is, because she is not a warm or ingratiating person.
Well, they'll
And
welcome her in with open arms.
Yeah, and I could see them turning their radios up in the cells next to her just to mess with her, and that would work. That would be something which would mess with her. But anyway, so she may be listening. Maybe they might have bought one of those $47 radios that retail for $6. That are sold at a heightened expense because that's just part of the scam to bilk money out of the unfortunate inhabitants of that particular Crossbar Hotel.
Well, not only that, they're not dancing the Macarena with her either.
Yeah, well, if there's one thing that Carrie was always good at was winning friends and influencing people. And let me say, obviously I'm being facetious. And maybe I'm not good at it either, but there you go. But she probably is listening. And so we welcome her back home. Welcome back to Clarksville. I know this is not the way that you wanted to arrive. Apparently the upscale boutique business she told everybody after we got convicted she was going into an upscale boutique. I kept waiting on it. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to shop there. I kept hoping that maybe I'd get an opportunity to purchase some of these fine goods online. But I don't know that the boutique ever materialized. But somebody asked me, they said, how can this happen? Well, here's how it happens. The state of Alabama doesn't have to house an inmate who's been committed to jail by a Tennessee court. They probably have enough of their own inmate.
Yeah.
They've probably got plenty of innocent black people that are serving jail time for being black, that they don't need any of the Clarksville people to house in their jail cell.
They don't need to import people.
They don't need to import people, and they don't have to take them. So I'm sure that she showed up with a committal order, which is what an order is, committing someone to custody. And Alabama said, we don't know who this Paul Summers cat is, the judge. We don't know who this cat is.
You're free to
We don't recognize that guy. Well, they just tell him, they go, we're not going to take you. Well, now what do? Well, you've got to come back to Tennessee and serve the time, or that's an offense. That's a felony offense called, I think technically it's an escape. Mm-hmm. Escaping from a penal institution is an offense, too. I recall from having a doctorate in jurisprudence, and I might be I don't really study the law anymore, so anything I tell you that's legally based, you might ought to check it with someone with a present law license, because I am not making any type of representation that anything that comes out of my mouth in a legal vein is the least bit accurate.
You're just talking.
I'm just talking. I mean, that's what I do now. I talk. That's my job. And I have somewhat of an informed decision because I do have a doctorate in jurisprudence, but I do not keep abreast of current changes in the law. But back in the day, there was an offense. If you failed to report to a penal institution where you had been committed to serve a sentence, that was an offense.
So why would she try to serve it in Alabama?
Well, Carrie was an Alabamian.
I see.
And that has a lot to do with my dislike for the entire state of Alabama. But she was an Alabamian and an Alabama fan.
And Roll Tide is not in your vocabulary?
No, I'm not a big fan of that.
Okay.
But anyway, and I guess she's living back in her hometown and was hoping to serve the time there in a more friendly confine, I suppose, somewhere where that society, particularly law enforcement society, is not so dead set on screwing with her. So, I mean, I'm going to tell you, as ugly as Carrie was to police officers over her career, I imagine there are some people that are Montgomery County Sheriff deputies that are taking great joy in getting to house her. There's an old saying about be careful on whom you step coming up a ladder, because you may meet them on the way down. And if there's one thing life has taught me, is that we can all ascend or descend the ladder
fairly quickly,
and sometimes owing to circumstances that are somewhat out of our control to almost totally out of our control. Although I really think, and even in my regard too, that we all bear responsibility for our own circumstances, and I do too. I've never tried to pretend for 1 second that some of the dialogue in which I regularly engage, some of the stands that I took, some of the cases that I took, that I've never tried to say that I'm not responsible for ending up in radio. I do bear responsibility for it. And that doesn't change the fact that I think the justice system is not working. And it doesn't change the fact that I think the jury reached an erroneous decision in my case based on the evidence that came in. But that jury was so confused by the time that they deliberated, I'm lucky I didn't get convicted of, well, I probably did get convicted of something I wasn't even charged with. I think I was convicted generally for just being a rear end, which I was that. I mean, I probably could have pled to that. If I'd have understood that was the charge, I could have saved everybody a lot of time and effort. I thought I was being charged with something completely different. But anyway, somebody wanted me to cover the fact that, Carrie is in town, so if you're a Gasaway fan...
She's visiting.
You might stop down at the Montgomery County Detention Facility and give her and holla.
At their bed and breakfast.
Holla. It's Weigh In Wednesday. We'll be back right after these messages. You're getting a long version. Many people simply believe they will never get in trouble with the law or need a lawyer, whether it's the sobering event beginning with blue lights in the rear view and ending with an arrest for DUI, being charged with a crime, or some unfortunate episode has occurred. The law office of Lynn Morton realizes you may not have planned on needing an attorney. Going to court without a professional qualified lawyer will result in disastrous consequences or an outcome in your case that causes havoc in your life for years. You need representation by a lawyer who not only has specialized knowledge knowledge, but who truly understands the anxiety, confusion, and devastation faced by someone facing criminal accusations or dealing with an array of other legal problems. Having an experienced, committed advocate like Lynn Morton on your side can make all the difference in your case. With support and guidance, you will have the ability to face your legal situation with confidence that can only come from knowing your case is in capable, dependable hands. Lynn Morton is dedicated to safeguarding her clients' rights and providing them with the attention and consideration their case and future deserve. For these most bitter moments, Lynn Morton can step forward to lend a helping hand and guide you through every aspect. Call Lynn Morton in your most trying time of need, 931-906-0000. Keller Williams affiliate broker Jackie Harker knows a family's most valuable asset, whether buying or selling, is the home. Jackie Harker with Keller Williams Realty in Clarksville, Tennessee would tell you her most important investment is in you. Whether buying or selling a mansion or a starter, the smart money is placed with Harker. Keller Williams' Jackie Harker will work tirelessly to make sure your buying or selling experience will be pleasant and your expectations will be exceeded. Call Keller Williams' Jackie Harker at 931-801-3946 today for all your home buying or selling needs. That's 931-801-3946. And remember, whether buying or selling a mansion or a starter, the smart money is placed with Harker. 931-801-3946. Jackie Harker. Call her today.
If you want to know what's going on in Clarksville, listen to WJZM Radio and worldwide at WJZM.com. WJZM is Clarksville's most dependable radio station for local news and current events.
A lot of real estate is bought and sold in Clarksville, and all of it has to be inspected, and it has to be done right. It's your largest investment of your life. Do you want to leave its inspection to someone who isn't the best? Of course not. 931-980-5759 gets you the best inspection services. Call Bud Wink at 931-980-5759 to get the home you are buying or selling inspected by the best inspection services. That's 931-980-5759. The best inspection services, changing the quality of home inspections one house at a time.
Since 1941, serving the public interest. WJZM Radio, Clarksville, Tennessee.
After midnight, we don't let it all hang down. After midnight, we don't chug a lug and shout. We're gonna stimulate some action. We're gonna get some satisfaction. We're gonna find out what it is all about. What it is all about. After midnight, we gonna let it all hang down.
You're getting the long version. It is weigh-in Wednesday. I have got Dean Barron with me from the Doctor's Diet Clinic out on 231 Dover Road.
Yep. Good morning, everybody.
And you can go out there. They have hours on Tuesdays and Saturdays from 11:30 to 6:30 p.m. And you can call them at 1-800-778-DIET.
Which is 3438.
3438 or 931-906-5555.
There you go.
If you're local. I did it.
55.
I did it. And what else I've done is I've lost nearly 30 pounds.
Yes, you have.
On this program. I have much more energy. I am looking younger, I am told. And you can join me
Feeling
in
younger,
this.
too.
And feeling younger. Feeling much better. I can feel my feet. You know, I had diabetes, the type 2, the fat man's diabetes. I had diabetes, and I stopped feeling my feet, and I now can feel my feet, and my feet are sore.
That's a good thing.
You know, before I could have walked. I could have been a hot coal walker pretty easily, but now not so much. Somebody says they've sent me they said, I bet Carrie Gassaway has already taken three retainers while she's in there. And let me tell you why that's so funny. One of the things that Carrie was charged with in this case was after Carrie and I were convicted, our licenses were, I know, every lawyer knows that if you're convicted of a felony, your license is immediately suspended, immediately. Now, it may take a few days, for the order to get inked, but, I mean, you're done.
Yeah,
you're done.
You're toast.
And so I stopped practicing immediately, obviously. And from the day I convicted forward, I've been a radio guy. I stopped practicing immediately. Carrie didn't. Carrie took, and I cannot imagine how in the world, in good conscience, you can take and accept a retainer from someone. Now, it's, I accepted retainers coming up to my conviction, but I told everybody I was representing that I was under felony indictment, too. In fact, it had a lot, some people were able to negotiate pretty low fees on the basis of the fact that I could not promise them that upon my being hired that I'd be able to finish their case.
Right.
But I was very open about that.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't have to be, because if you owned a newspaper or a television, everybody knew I was under felony indictment. I mean, was that something you knew, John? I mean, everybody knew that. I mean, it's not like anybody didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
You must live in a complete and total hole or a cave. But, I mean, I was under felony indictment, and anybody that was hiring me, I told them that. Well, anyway, but I can't imagine after getting convicted, even if you hope you can get it reversed on appeal, I can't imagine taking someone's money to represent them in a case. I mean, that's just like picking their pocket.
Yeah, while they're sleeping.
That's almost even worse. Well, anyway, so the facts of the case to which she pled were, I believe, well, I know this, she was charged with this. I don't know if she pled to this or not. This might have been dismissed in her plea. But she, one of the facts was that she had accepted a retainer from a client in a divorce like a few days after we had been found guilty. And, of course, the client was like, well, I didn't know that y'all had been convicted, which was amazing because it was covered on every news
You'd
outlet.
be surprised.
But some people
do not know.
Some people, you can't just assume that somebody knows because, those of you
recorder and go out on the street. Who's the vice president?
Yeah, some people don't even know
Gerald
that.
Ford.
Those of you who think that you'll die from the scandal, if you're in the newspaper for something that's bad, those of you who are concerned that you'll never be able to face your friends again,
may not know.
Don't ever discount the fact that not everybody lives in your microcosmic world. Not everybody knows. You just assume that everybody knows, but I mean, like, it's in the Leaf Chronicle, so maybe 3 people know. I mean, it's not. That doesn't mean that everybody knows. You shouldn't just assume that everybody knows. When you talk about your recent disgracement, you can't assume that everybody knows to what you're referring. So, anyway, this woman did not know that Carrie had been convicted, and she paid her a retainer, and Carrie accepted it. And that's why the comment from the listener about I bet she's accepted 3 retainers while she's in there is kind of funny.
But Carrie accepted in good faith.
No, she could not have.
I mean, she was glad to get it.
Okay. If that's your definition, if that's your definition of good faith, then
something from my boutique.
She probably was glad to get it.
Not need a pack.
But I just don't know how you thought. You got to remember that, for one thing, you've been rendered infamous. Number one. So when that person goes to a charging authority and says, this person has taken my money, and they can show where they've written a check or something to prove that bears your endorsement, what are you going to say? I mean, that's like, are you taking stupid pills? Why? Why in the world would you think? I mean, you don't benefit any longer from this I'm a judge's wife insulation that Carrie always felt from which she benefited. But that insulation is not insulating anything any longer. So anyway, it's enough about her. I don't, I always think she's gone from my life, and then bang, I get a news article.
Pop goes.
And there we are, partners once again. We hadn't practiced law together since like 2011, I think it was. But here it is, 2016, and I'm still having to answer Carrie Gassaway crap. I have nothing. Trust me, we don't talk.
I bet not.
Trust me, we have no conference between us. I had heard that one guy that was greatly responsible for her downfall, no more responsible than was she herself, but one of her ardent detractors went down to the jail to visit her, and she flavored him with some abusive and
unkind,
cursing commentary, and turned around and walked away from the visitation booth. And I asked this guy, and he told me that was not true. So that's just one of those. That's just one of those Clarksville rumors, that go around.
That's why Tarzan never comes to Clarksville, because their grapevines are full with all this stuff.
There are too many people using the same grapevine.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is unbelievable to me, going back to the story about the two women from Quebec. First of all, what in the world were they thinking?
Have you priced one of those long, extended cruises?
Well, I'm sure the 63-year-old man was probably footing the bill.
It's $14,000 plus.
I imagine he was footing the bill.
So they had to do something to pay for it.
It's going to be interesting to see what they proffer as a defense, and I hope that it continues to get coverage. It's a pretty, it's a big thing. 90-something kilos, was it? $2.3 million worth of cocaine street value.
Yeah.
That's a big smuggle, but they're calling it the largest attempted smuggle into Australia over international waters ever.
How many laws did they break there?
Well, the interesting thing is going to be a jurisdiction. Is what country, in what waters were they? I never did maritime law, and those rules are kind of peculiar.
I bet they have to serve it in Alabama.
Alabama's already said we'll take them. But interestingly enough, we have a state in the union that was started as an Australian prison colony. Can you name that state? What southern state? I'll even
Besides Alabama?
I'll give you the geography. It's not Alabama. I know you'd think it. What southern state has as its origin that it was an Australian prison colony where bad Australians would be banished? So anybody that tells you they're a native of this state has told you something of their ancestry. What state?
I would say Louisiana, but
that would be a French. They were a French colony.
Yeah.
The state was Georgia.
Really?
The state of Georgia started out an Australian prison colony.
The peach state.
Maybe Australia can prevail on Georgia to how. I'm going to tell you, and this is one reason why people diet. Okay, this is one reason why the Doctor's Diet Clinic is so popular. We attribute a significant amount of importance to someone's outward appearance. There's been countless studies that show this. People that are overweight are attributed personality defects that have nothing to do with the fact that they're overweight. They're believed that they're dull-witted. It is believed that they are lazy and that's why they're overweight. They are more likely to be convicted of offenses.
What?
Well,
running away with something? No.
Well, maybe not running away with something, but I'm saying that there's been jury studies conducted, and we've covered it on air, that unattractive or overweight people have more of a chance of being convicted by juries. I knew as a trial attorney that having an attractive appearing client was preferable if I was defending. I thought it was the only chance Brandon Brandenburg had was maybe if we seat a girl in her early 20s, she might want to date him and not want to put him in jail so she can have a shot at him. That was about all I could come up with strategy-wise based on that evidence, and it didn't work. And it seldom does. If you're banking on that, you've placed your money in an insecure account. But these are very attractive women that may have believed, because of their previous life experiences, one of them's 28 years old, the other 22, that they were good looking enough to get out of anything. Maybe they just thought that, no, I can, if I want to. They didn't wake up one day, Dean, and decide that they're going to just smuggle 90-something kilos of cocaine into Australia. That didn't happen in a vacuum.
No, that didn't.
These were women that had been given things, and they are strikingly beautiful. If you go look up this news story, I've showed you the pictures, John. I've showed you the pictures.
Yes.
There is no question that they are 1%ers, as in among the 1% best-looking women I've ever seen. They're really good looking. Now, they didn't
Lifestyles of the rich and famous.
They just didn't wake up one day. I mean, these are women that if you walked up and bought them a $14,000 cruise, international cruise, you wouldn't have been the first man to do it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
I see.
I guarantee you they go on lots of $14,000 cruises, and they probably have given to them lots of things. I just wonder, how did they think that they were going to get away with this? Well, they thought much like police corruption, as we've talked about many times, it's a learned behavior. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. No. They are accustomed to doing what they want, when they want, whatever they want, and it being countenanced and defended,
accepted,
and accepted, owing to their great physical allure. And this is it is going to be interesting to see if we can, and I think we'll follow it forward. I think it'll continue to be covered, what they do here. I'm saying right now, they are going to dime out the 63-year-old man as they were either unwitting participants in this smuggling scheme, or they were of the opinion that he's buying the cruise. What do we care? We'll just go along for the ride defense, which really isn't a defense. You can't just go along for the ride. In the federal system, that's called misprison of a felony, which is not a high offense, but I could see them entering pleas to misprison. I don't know what the international law is in Australia, but in the United States, they have an offense for, if you know that a federal law is being violated and don't report it, you can be held accountable. Now, misprison is something you almost never see anyone charged with as the initial charge, but people do enter pleas to it. It is to what Martha Stewart's to what she pled when she served her 5-6 months in the minimum security federal prison. She pled to misprison, claiming that she knew that this guy was conveying insider traders information to her and didn't report it to the federal authorities. It's really kind of a nothing, if you get convicted of misprison in the federal system, you've really been convicted of nothing. I'll give you an example of that, is that my friend Tommy Meeks, that is of what he was convicted, was misprison of a felony. Yeah. And that's kind of a tough thing of which to convict Mr. Meeks, because he was a lawyer who was defending a guy that was a target of a drug case, and to say that he knew that this guy had committed an offense and didn't report it to the federal authorities is, they must have targeted. And of course, Tommy got his law license back and he's practicing law now, but they must have been targeting him for that, to get him, because that's, attorneys who defend people that are charged in drug cases maybe are not permitted to report their client, to whom they owe a fiduciary duty of loyalty and fealty to the federal authorities, and because it would be privileged information.
That it would.
Anyway, that's the long version. Back after these messages.
There is a name in the Clarksville community we have come to associate with excellence in legal services. That name is Kimberly Turner and Associates, the attorneys who care. There are times in life when reliance on attorneys who care is particularly critical. Family strife is definitely among those times, whether it be divorce, child custody, juvenile delinquent petitions, alimony or child support increases, or any type of strife which invades our personal lives. Kim Turner and Associates are the attorneys who care. Call Kim today at 572-1134 or get an appointment. Perhaps you just stop by her place located at 130 Franklin Street next to the Black Horse. That's 572-1134. Kimberly Turner and Associates are the attorneys who care. This is Fletcher Long, and I'm proud to tell you about my friends at Serval Termite and Pest Control. They have a $45 special on quarterly residential pest control services with no startup fees, but you must sign a one-year contract. Let me say it again, $45 special. Quarterly residential pest control with a one-year contract. They're offering a free, no-obligation subterranean termite inspection. Our technicians are all state-certified, licensed, and bonded. Call 931-648-8620. That's 931-648-8620. Serval Termite and Pest Control.
When Clarksville wants to hear what's going on,
we have a wonderful military intelligence organization we do not need in this country. It's 435 members of the House saying this is my plan, or 100 members of the Senate saying this is my plan. We need the President of the United States to turn to his command team and say, give me your best advice. You are on the ground. You have your troop leaders that are on the ground. Tell me what you think we need to do. And then he needs to follow that advice.
they hear it on WJZM Radio.
A home is one of the biggest investments you can make. One of the best ways to start your house hunting is to contact a home loan pro you can trust. The 2015 Reader's Choice favorite banker, Matt McWhirter of F&M Mortgage. Call Matt McWhirter at 931-906-0006 or stop by the F&M office in Sango. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Since 1941, serving the public interest. WJZM Radio, Clarksville, Tennessee.
You say you were wrong to ever leave me alone, and now you're sorry, you're lonesome and scared. And you say you'd be happy if you could just come back home. Well, here's a quarter, call someone who cares.
That's my song to carry. Pot it back up.
And might give a damn.
That's right, baby.
You're one of your sordid affairs. But don't you come
around here telling none of your lies. Here's a quarter, call someone who cares. You're getting the long version. That's going out to my buddy at the Montgomery County Detention Facility. Boy, John Michaels, you have a strange sense of humor.
I know it.
It's amazing how we did not audition that. That was not. We didn't practice that.
That was pure.
That was pure, just extemporaneous off the cuff.
Yep.
You're getting the long version brought to you by the Doctor's Diet Clinic, 231 on Dover Road. Go out there, change your life. Join me in a march to beauty.
Yeah.
And maybe when we get there, we won't get on a cruise ship with some dirty old man that puts a bunch of coke in our suitcases and tries to get us to smuggle it into Australia.
285 pound, was it?
It was 90 kilos. Yeah. Anyway, one story that we report a lot on, Dean, that people just don't understand is why is DCS going around snatching all these kids? Right? I mean, family court corruption is a huge hot button topic. It's in the platform of the presidential nominees. It's all over the internet. There's radio stations that are almost specifically, I'm talking about internet radio programs and stations almost specifically topicked in that vein. Well, this is from the Social Security Act, okay? I want you to understand, this is why they're going around snatching up kids. An adoption and legal guardianship incentive payments payable to the state for a fiscal year under this act is equal to $5,000 multiplied by the amount, if any, by which the number of foster child adoptions in the state during the fiscal year exceeds the product rounded to the nearest whole number of the base rate of foster child adoptions for the state for the fiscal year, and the number of children in foster care under the supervision of the state on the last day of the preceding fiscal year. So they're getting $5,000 per kid for every child that they either have adopted out or they take into state custody.
Yeah.
They get $7,500 per kid of the number of pre-adolescent child adoptions and pre-adolescent foster child guardianships in the state during the fiscal year. So the younger, the better. The number of children in foster care under the supervision of the state on the last day of the preceding fiscal year who have attained 9 years of age but not 14 years of age. So that's where they get the pre-adolescent.
Right, yeah.
They get $10,000 for the number of older children adoptions and older foster care guardianships in the state during the fiscal year. The number of children in foster care under the supervision of the state on the last day of the preceding fiscal year who have attained 14 years of age or older. They get $4,000 for the number of foster child guardianships, which exceeds the product rounded to the nearest whole number of the base rate of foster child guardianships for the state for the fiscal year, and the number of children in foster care under the supervision of the state on the last day of the preceding fiscal year.
It's a money-making thing.
Yeah. And so when DCS comes in front of a court and says, Your Honor, we want to have an emergency order of removal of this child and take them into state custody and place them in foster care pending further orders, they just made $5,000 per child for whom they filed that application. With the opportunity to make additional money.
And then they lose them in the system by not checking up on them.
And they have an incentive to both take them and to keep them.
Right.
And it's just that good old-fashioned green.
Yep.
And if you're a juvenile court judge and you're listening to this, you have to wonder, what is motivating? Is the child in danger? The Ellithorpe children were not in danger at all.
No.
There was not even an allegation. No, I mean, the allegation was, well, they've abandoned the children with me. Really? Since Friday on Sunday?
And
really?
You're a grandparent.
You know, and you're the paternal grandmother. And oh, by the way, can I see your phone, because this man insists that he's been texting you throughout the weekend, and he insists that he has texts from you that say, "Oh, can I keep them till Monday?"
Yeah.
You know, there's an old. You're not allowed to. There's a duty in civil law, which is inapplicable to this, but I'm going to use it as an example, that plaintiffs cannot create their own damages.
Right.
That's called that a plaintiff's duty to mitigate their own damages. So you can't go out there and intentionally damage yourself and then sue a defendant to pay you the damages that your actions have really caused.
Right.
They used to call that in Tennessee contributory negligence, where if the plaintiff had in any way contributed to their own damages, they were barred from recovery. Tennessee doesn't follow that law, or didn't when I lost my license. They weren't following the law anymore. They were using comparative fault, where
where the plaintiff has to have comparatively been at fault less than the person he's suing, or than the combined fault of the defendants. But the bottom, that here, the state can't go around, if you follow that same line of thinking, they can't go around snatching kids based on emergencies that they have created.
Right.
Because they want the funding, and Adam Elthorpe's paternal mother, his mother, can't go around claiming the kids have been abandoned with her when she's making text messages back to him saying, "Can I keep them till blank?"
Right. Yeah.
That violates the general principle of an applicant for relief creating the need for relief owing to their own action. That's brilliant, isn't it?
That's just, yeah.
That's not brilliant. That's black letter law. Anybody that's ever studied the law would know this. Any law student anywhere would know this. So anyway, that's I wanted to lay out there. Somebody had posted that on Facebook, and I thought it was somewhat. Sometimes people don't understand that there are reasons that you may not know. When we hear someone's child is taken from them and placed in state custody and either placed for adoption or placed in foster care, our first inclination is to think, well, that person's got to be a scumbag.
Right.
That person has got to be, there's something about this neighbor of mine that I should be wary. I don't want them around my kids. I don't want them around me, because we want to believe, when the government tells us that these are all a bunch of dirty Jews, that Jews are both dirty and worthy of being extincted. That's what we want to believe.
But it's not that way always.
But you find out, history teaches us that oftentimes is not the case, that there is some reason, and it's oftentimes a money reason.
Theological moment.
Okay, let's hear it.
Aren't you glad they're created?
Starting tomorrow, this will be brought to you by Meeks and Meeks attorneys. I'll go ahead and say. But the theological moment, go ahead.
Aren't you glad their Creator judges us rather than our friends?
Oh, Lord. Yes, because you don't, I'll tell you why theologically, because this is someone judging us truly without anything to gain or lose in the offing. The problem is that we will make sometimes there was a story, and it was a very good movie. Robert Duvall played a judge who had committed some sort of an alleged crime against a former person who had been in his court, and he gets defended by Robert Downey Jr., who's his son. And I think the name of the movie is The Judge. And at the end,
right.
And at the end of the movie, it was pretty clear that the guy that he had subjected to force, maybe even had killed, had provoked him sufficiently for it to be defensible. It was defensible.
All right.
And in the alternative from the movie, it was pretty clear that the guy was incompetent mentally, and therefore could not formulate the criminal intent to commit a crime. And as the plot goes in The Judge, while he was provoked, it wasn't enough to completely avoid any offense. It might have been enough to avoid the most serious of the offenses, but it was not enough to avoid any offense.
Right.
So if they find him competent to stand trial, then he is going to be convicted of an offense. If they find him incompetent, it not only does he avoid any criminal sanction, which was what should have happened,
right,
but it also calls into question every ruling that he had made, because the question is, when did he become incompetent, and how many orders has he entered while incompetent? It would invalidate much of his most recent judicial career.
Right.
And as the story goes, and I'm working purely from memory here, they end up convicting this man of an offense to keep
from having to declare him incompetent and open up a floodgate of
past rulings.
Yeah. And relitigate many trials over which he presided. So it wasn't that he was found guilty of an offense because he had really committed one. He was found guilty of an offense because to make the appropriate legal finding would have caused just a rat's nest of trouble for society. Society, it would have really harmed. We don't in this country, and this is what's wrong with the judicial system, we only follow the law in the judicial system when it suits us. Okay? And that's why police officers will get up on the stand and swear to tell the truth and lie like a rug. Because if they become holden of the belief that this guy is a punk, and even if I have to cheat, I'm helping kids, or my kids, or I'm helping society by putting him away no matter what I have to do it. It's when you seize for yourself, today's second theological moment, when you decide you're God.
Yeah.
And if you want it, it's right, even if you have to do bad things to achieve it. It's when you have the end justifies the means mentality, justice is fractured.
Absolutely.
And injured. But it happens a ton. That movie didn't happen in a vacuum either. There are times when the prosecuting authorities, the jury, the judge, if he's acting without a jury, will convict someone for reasons other than it's been proven to them beyond a reasonable doubt the guy committed the offense. You know, Austin Davis is running into that in Nashville right now. He's been charged with a ridiculous offense. There is no, I bet if this case gets tried to Judge Dozier, this will be the first time a criminal trespass, I am wagering, I could be wrong, I bet you there hadn't been a charge yet tried to Judge Dozier in front of a jury on the sole count of criminal trespass. It might have, he's probably entered some pleas to criminal trespass, or the jury's probably convicted people of criminal trespass when it was one of a myriad charges. But I mean, this is the sole count of this indictment is a Class B misdemeanor. But at some point, you have to wonder, are they prosecuting Austin for this offense because they don't like what he has to say, and because if he does not commit this offense, and if he does not garner the rendering of infamy that comes incident to being convicted of anything, are they going to have some explaining to do? Are there going to be some problems for some important and wealthy and powerful people on down the road because Austin's told us about John Perry?
Yeah.
And John Perry preying on children placed with him that were foster children, or at least one that we know that he did actually abuse. So in a case like that, does a judge have a predilection toward saying it serves the common good to just go on and convict him, whether there's proof there to convict him or not?
There ought to be proof.
Well, I know, but those type decisions, there are jurists. Now you say, okay, well, you get a jury. Well, that's right, you do get a jury, and if the jury fulfills its constitutional obligation and only convicts if they're persuaded beyond a reasonable doubt to a moral certainty that Austin was in fact criminally trespassing at a church where he was a communicant, which I don't know how that's possible. I don't know. But you know, anyway, if they fulfill their constitutional role, then the jury is the safeguard from this type of abuse.
Right.
But when they play along just to get along, when they fulfill the perceived role of patriotism and that is defending your government against all enemies, foreign or domestic, even when it's wrong, then that's when justice gets fractured. That's the long version. Back after these messages.
WJZM Radio, Clarksville, Tennessee.
Many people simply believe they will never get in trouble with the law or need a lawyer, whether it's the sobering event beginning with blue lights in the rear view and ending with an arrest for DUI, being charged with a crime, or some unfortunate episode has occurred. The law office of Lynn Morton realizes you may not have planned on needing an attorney. Going to court without a professional qualified lawyer will result in disastrous consequences or an outcome in your case that causes havoc in your life for years. You need representation by a lawyer who not only has specialized knowledge, but who truly understands the anxiety, confusion, and devastation faced by someone facing criminal accusations or dealing with an array of other legal problems. Having an experienced, committed advocate like Lynn Morton on your side can make all the difference in your case. With support and guidance, you will have the ability to face your legal situation with confidence that can only come from knowing your case is in capable, dependable hands. Lynn Morton is dedicated to safeguarding her clients' rights and providing them with the attention and consideration their case and future deserve. For these most bitter moments, Lynn Morton can step forward to lend a helping hand and guide you through every aspect. Call Lynn Morton in your most trying time of need, 931-906-0000. A lot of real estate is bought and sold in Clarksville, and all of it has to be inspected, and it has to be done right. It's your largest investment of your life. Do you want to leave its inspection to someone who isn't the best? Of course not. 931-980-5759 gets you the best inspection services. Call Bud Wink at 931-980-5759 to get the home you are buying or selling inspected by the best inspection services. That's 931-980-5759. The best inspection services, changing the quality of home inspections one house at a time.
If you want to know what's going on in Clarksville, listen to WJZM Radio and worldwide at WJZM.com. WJZM is Clarksville's most dependable radio station for local news and current events.
Keller Williams affiliate broker Jackie Harker knows a family's most valuable asset, whether buying or selling, is the home. Jackie Harker with Keller Williams Realty in Clarksville, Tennessee would tell you her most important investment is in you. Whether buying or selling a mansion or a starter, the smart money is placed with Harker. Keller Williams' Jackie Harker will work tirelessly to make sure your buying or selling experience will be pleasant and your expectations will be exceeded. Call Keller Williams' Jackie Harker at 931-801-3946 today for all your home buying or selling needs. That's 931-801-3946. And remember, whether buying or selling a mansion or a starter, the smart money is placed with Harker. 931-801-3946. Jackie Harker. Call her today.
Since 1941, serving the public interest. WJZM Radio, Clarksville, Tennessee.
I think about her all the time. She's my fantasy. An image burning in my mind, calling out to me. While my imagination's running wild, yeah, things are getting clearer. Oh, this time everything is alright. No way.
Another song going out to Carrie Gassaway. Think about her all the time. You're really funny, Michaels.
No, that's not what that was about. I just lost out.
Was that a request?
Yeah, it was. No.
Ryan Adams is one of the greatest singers of the 80s, man. That's all I can tell you. He just was fantastic. Anyway, somebody called in during the break and said, would you have Carrie Gassaway on when she gains liberty from this jail service and said, y'all ought to bury the hatchet. I don't know if this guy was taking sport of me or not.
Was he talking literally burying the hatchet?
Each other's head.
But anyway, I wouldn't be opposed to her coming on, but I've been told by my sponsor for Wednesday that she cannot come on a Wednesday.
Oh, I said I'd rather not have it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's your day. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I can say that no. On Wednesday, but now on any other day, I would book her.
Sunday morning.
I think it would be an interesting interview.
At least
I
for 5
bet
minutes.
you that'd be a highly rated show right there. To be honest with you, Carrie is so anger driven and is so emotionally. She lives life on an emotional tidal wave, and it would be good radio and smart to have her on, but I don't know how she would comport herself on air. I'd liable to get cussed out or beaten up in here. So I don't know. She can handle herself. She's an Alabamian.
We could always
Donald
close the
Trump is very upset that he's been compared to Adolf Hitler. He calls the comparison terrible.
Yeah.
And he was talking to George Stephanopoulos on Good Morning America, talking about that comparison. Apparently, he's going to meet with the guy who has compared him to Hitler. Mexican President Peña Nieto likened Trump's campaign tone to those of Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini. So what he's calling him, what President Nieto is calling him, is a fascist.
Yeah.
Benito Mussolini invented fascism.
Yeah, he did.
He doesn't get the same credit as Adolf Hitler.
But he was mean.
Louis C.K. and conservative journalist Glenn Beck have also compared the real estate mogul to Hitler in recent days. And guys, when you start, and this is what really scares me about the Trump supporters, Glenn Beck has likened Trump's...
He's a cruise guy, though.
Yeah, but guys, if in the Republican Party, if we're going to go... I mean, Glenn Beck's a lifetime conservative. Glenn Beck's conservative credentials cannot be seriously questioned. And if all he has to do is exercise his First Amendment right to criticize the present Republican nominee, and he becomes instantly a leftist, or whatever other curse that we have in the GOP to characterize people, you have to take a step back and go, well, wait a minute now. I mean, this guy's not a leftist. It's like when you start criticizing Goldwater and you call yourself a conservative, Barry Goldwater was the father of conservatism. I mean, that's the benchmark. And anyway, Trump has also asked supporters at rallies to raise their hands to pledge to vote for him, which some people, this is an unfortunate request because some people have likened that to the Nazi salute, Heil Hitler. And somebody asked him if these comparisons shouldn't be a signal to him that he should tone down his rhetoric, and he at least conceded maybe so, but he added that he continues to see strong support in recent polling and at the ballot box. He pushed back against GOP establishment efforts to block him from the nomination. They'd rather not see me in there, obviously, he said, adding that Mitt Romney's failed 2012 challenge to incumbent President Obama was one of the worst campaigns he has ever witnessed. I would imagine something like those attacks could have an impact, but we have a lot of loyal people. Of course, Trump had very unkind things to say about Michael Bloomberg, who, of course, opted out of running because he didn't want to help Donald Trump. He said that Bloomberg used to be a friend. I guess he disagrees with what I'm saying, but a lot of people agree with what I'm saying. Any thoughts here? It'll be interesting to follow going forward Trump's meeting with the Mexican president. I imagine what Trump's going to say when he gets in there is, you're going to build that wall, right?
Pay for it too.
Nieto, you are paying for the wall. Are we even at a point in this election where we're still building a wall? I'm confused about what Trump's present immigration policy is.
Well,
I mean, you're a Trump's fan. You don't mind me outing you, do you?
I don't mind you outing me. No.
I mean, you're a Trump man. Do we know? Is he going to build a wall now? Is he going to export the illegals? What is the present immigration stance, if you know?
I think he wants to get rid of the ones that are causing problems.
The illegals.
That might be here illegal. And what's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, in theory, nothing.
In theory, yeah.
Yeah, in theory, I don't know that there's anything wrong with it. One of the things that led to the downfall of the Roman Empire was an inability to control the borders.
Right.
And immigration at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a piece on the Warriors for Justice site, Dean, that likened the present-day America to the fall of the Roman Empire. You may remember the piece. I read it on air. I talked about the decline in moral fiber or moral sentiment, or I talked about the immigration issues. I talked about a weakening of the standing army and military capability, and I talked about a bunch of things in this thing, and I made it sound like that I was talking about America, and then and of course everybody's nodding, yeah.
That's us, all right, yeah.
And then I used the ironic twist of saying, while you may have thought that I was referring to present-day America, I was actually reading from the rise and fall of the Roman Empire.
Exactly, yeah.
But the point I was trying to make are the rather striking similarities. Do you believe, this is a tough question, do you believe that we are seeing the beginning of the downfall of the American empire? Or are we even past the beginning? That's a very pessimistic question, isn't it?
I'm going to give you an answer you probably was not expecting. I think we're seeing the beginning of the end of life on Earth as we know it.
Oh, you think it's the Armageddon fast approaching?
Yeah.
We're getting Armageddon.
It would not surprise me.
Well, I mean, I think there are people that, there's a whole group of people out there you may have heard of called preppers. Mm-hmm. You ever heard of those cats?
I've heard of them.
I'm not going to ask you if you are one. They are very secretive as to whom they are. But there are people that are preppers in Clarksville, for instance, that you would never guess, that I happen to know of because I know a guy that's big in that movement. But what the preppers do, and I think we talked about this last year when I first went on air, John, but what they do is they go out and prepare for the end of civilization. They have bunkers with dry goods and water storage and water capabilities, and they predict that they want to survive the Armageddon.
When it comes, it'll come, and that won't save them at all.
No. Well, today's theological moment is you're supposed to live every day as if it's the last.
Yep.
Isn't that what Jesus said?
Yep.
That live every day as though I were coming back. Isn't that right? Something like that.
That's
brought to you by Meeks and Meeks Attorneys.
A day early.
A day early. That's right.
Yeah, they can build all they want to, but it's not going to save them in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but there are a group of people that are trying to prepare for this eventuality, and what you'll see is that they will. If you see people that are making stockpiles of precious metals, gold and silver, that is an indication that they're either smart, because I think those are probably safer investments than a lot of stuff, or they're preppers. You know it? Because preppers do that. Yeah. They believe that will one day be the only commodity, that paper money will be worthless.
Several years ago, I worked for a water company in Cadiz, Kentucky. I won't mention the name, but a fellow came in and wanted to buy 85 5-gallon bottles of water.
And you know right now that that's going in a bunker, don't you?
That's what he's saying. He says, now, will these store okay underground? I said, yes, sir. He said, what's the shelf life on it? I said, I don't know that water goes bad.
I'll tell you this. I've been told by preppers that you would not believe some of the Clarksvillians that are members of the prepper movement. I've told there are storage shelters and bunkers in some of the finest neighborhoods. It's Olson, isn't it? Mark Olson. Mark and Jane Olson. I know they have a prepper bunker.
I don't know.
I bet Olson looks like he's been stockpiling food and water for a long time.
I'm not going to get into that one.
Jane's got an artist studio and everything in the middle of their prepper bunker. And that internal joke for the people that listen outside the Clarksville area. Mark Olson's a friend of mine and a lawyer in Clarksville.
Inside joke.
And a very, very jolly fellow.
He may not be a friend.
He's probably really not a prepper, but I'm joking. An internal memo, the big thing is they hacked these Democratic websites, and Julian Assange and all this kind of thing. He's not long for this world. You know, he's going to get Clinton-cited.
Yeah.
Or Arkansas-cited, if you will. An internal memo hacked from the personal computer of Nancy Pelosi shows officials were briefed on how to respond to the Black Lives Matter movement, including tactics on how to answer questions by activists. The document, reportedly authored in November last year by a staffer named Troy Perry, states that Democratic Party candidates and members should never use the phrases "all lives matter" nor mention black-on-black crime, as they are viewed as red herring attacks and will garner additional media scrutiny and only anger Black Lives Matters activists. The Black Lives Matter movement was formed in 2012 following the death of Trayvon Martin and has been at the fore of alleged U.S. police brutality ever since, documenting and protesting the slew of killings, including most recently those of Alton Sterling and Philando Castile, both of which were covered ad nauseum on this program. The Black Lives Matter-centric document was leaked online by Guccifer 2.0. Now, you know who Guccifer is?
I have no clue.
You know who Guccifer is?
It's Lucifer's cousin, I believe.
Well, no. This guy, there is a famous hacker, perhaps the most famous hacker in the world.
Anonymous.
That was referred to as Guccifer. I think he was caught and is in custody, but there's somebody's now out there being
a copycat.
Guccifer 2.0.
Guccifer was already taken.
Yeah. Anyway, the document was leaked online by Guccifer 2.0. He is the self-proclaimed hacker who's claiming responsibility for infiltrating the DNC and the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Many cybersecurity experts believe the persona is maintained by Russian intelligence to manage a disinformation campaign with the intention of influencing the upcoming November 8 election. Kremlin officials have denied the accusations. I love that line. I love that. Hello? Yes. Is this the Kremlin? Yes, it is.
Who's calling?
This is Vladimir.
Would you like to make a statement as to whether or not you are intentionally issuing disinformation to influence the upcoming presidential election? Niet. Is that a no? Niet. We are not. Niet. Anyway, presidential candidates have struggled to respond to the tactics of Black Lives Matter movement, the memo continues. While there has been little engagement with House candidates and campaign staff should be prepared. This document should not be emailed or handed to anyone outside the building. Please only give campaign staff these best practices in meetings or over the phone. So please don't give them a copy of this memo. That's like the memo that set out the quota system in the THP. Please do not show anybody
this.
Can
you bring them in the building and give it to them?
Well, it looks like to me they said do it over the phone or in meetings.
Okay.
Perry instructed Democratic Party officials to meet with local activists, this person who authored this, and wrote, if approached by Black Lives Matter activist campaign staff should offer to meet with local activists, invite BLM attendees should be limited. Please aim for personal or small group meetings. He advised to listen to their concerns, but don't offer support for concrete policy positions. That's the long version. Back after these messages.
A home is one of the biggest investments you can make. One of the best ways to start your house hunting is to contact a home loan pro you can trust. The 2015 Reader's Choice favorite banker, Matt McWhirter of F&M Mortgage. Call Matt McWhirter at 931-906-0006 or stop by the F&M office in Sango. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
WJZM Radio is Clarksville's only news talk radio station. And for the best coverage of local news and current events, you can depend on WJZM Radio. Listen to WJZM Radio and live online at WJZM.com. WJZM Radio.
This is Fletcher Long, and I'm proud to tell you about my friends at Serval Termite and Pest Control. They have a $45 special on quarterly residential pest control services with no startup fees, but you must sign a one-year contract. Let me say it again, $45 special. Quarterly residential pest control with a one-year contract. They're offering a free, no-obligation subterranean termite inspection. Our technicians are all state-certified, licensed, and bonded. Call 931-648-8620. That's 931-648-8620. Serval Termite and Pest Control. There is a name in the Clarksville community we have come to associate with excellence in legal services. That name is Kimberly Turner and Associates, the attorneys who care. There are times in life when reliance on attorneys who care is particularly critical. Family strife is definitely among those times, whether it be divorce, child custody, juvenile delinquent petitions, alimony or child support increases, or any type of strife which invades our personal lives. Kim Turner and Associates are the attorneys who care. Call Kim today at 572-1134 or get an appointment. Perhaps you just stop by her place located at 130 Franklin Street next to the Black Horse. That's 572-1134. Kimberly Turner and Associates are the attorneys who care.
Since 1941, serving the public interest. WJZM Radio, Clarksville, Tennessee.
Vladimir Putin was arrested in a Florida supermarket. Did you know this?
No, I did not know
Well, it was
that.
a black guy named Vladimir Putin. It's not the Vladimir Putin.
It's an imitation.
It's an imitation.
Imitation.
Somebody, some family down in Florida named
Surely
named Putin,
not.
also named their child Vladimir.
No. Please tell me no.
Very uncommon for you don't see that in black households much. And I don't use the word African American anymore because genealogy has taught us that some of the people we've been mislabeling as African Americans have absolutely zero African ties.
Yeah. I bet when he got arrested, he said, "Oh, I get this a lot."
He immediately said, "I know nothing."
The story here. Let me read this because I thought I saw a mugshot. Maybe it is the real Vladimir Putin. It was in West Palm Beach. Let me see here. This could have been the cocaine. This is from Esquire. This was from This is from Esquire. Vladimir Putin was at a West Palm Beach supermarket on Monday, CNN reports, and Esquire reporting from CNN. But the charges do not sadly include espionage. No, this particular Vladimir Putin was found screaming. I've got a recover page. We're having one of those days. That is cause for
not a good sign.
We got to get Lee Dryer to sponsor the Gasp.
I know.
We need to start selling the Gasp. The Lee Dryer gasp of exasperation.
Only he can do it.
The gasp of disgust and exasperation.
I could have it recorded and we could just play it every time when we're going to use it.
Or play the elephant sound.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to get this. I don't know if I'm going to get this story to pot up here for me. I'm trying.
The squirrels are running.
We could talk. There's a poll today. It's funny because I just saw a poll saying that Clinton's unfavorable rating hits a new high, and now here it is on television. I reported this morning, and here it is. Her unfavorable rating is 56%. All right, here's the guy, Vladimir Putin. They got the mugshot right there. It was exactly what I thought. It was a black guy named Vladimir Putin, and he was screaming at somebody at a West Palm Beach supermarket. He's not charged with espionage. He was screaming at employees, at a Publix
that looks like
story, and he was not the former KGB agent turned Russian authoritarian leader. He actually happens to be from the state of Florida. That's what kind of a news day it is. Some black guy named Vladimir Putin gets charged with yelling at a supermarket, at a public store, and it's national news.
Can you imagine their
Mr. Putin, are you trying to influence the outcome of the United States presidential election? Yet.
Can you imagine they're introducing their family to somebody that, this is Tony and this is Bobby, and this is Vladimir right here. He's one of the younger ones.
Vladimir. Chris Brown is in trouble again.
What's he done now?
Oh, Lord. A woman was at the center of a nearly 14-hour standoff reported by Good Morning America that ended with Chris Brown, the singer, being arrested on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon, has said that the experience was terrifying. I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
Her name is Bailey Curran. A guest at Chris Brown's Los Angeles home told Good Morning America that Brown pointed a gun at her face after he became angry when she complimented another man's jewelry. Brown's representatives did not immediately respond to ABC News. His attorney called the allegations demonstrably false in a tweet sent out early Wednesday. Of course, that's exactly what do you think?
Yeah,
they were demonstrably true.
And
you never say that.
You got to believe it.
The 25-year-old model spoke to ABC News about the incident and the emotions that she experienced. I didn't want anything to escalate because, hello, he's holding a gun to me, Curran said. Hello, that's actually in the quote. Hello. According to Curran, it all started when someone brought over a box of expensive diamond jewelry. I was just standing over it, admiring it, not touching it, and then one of Chris's friends says, back away from the diamond, Curran claimed. That's when Chris came in and said, I'm so sick of all you people. He took the gun out, put it in my face, and said, get the F out. When Brown allegedly pulled the gun on Curran, she says she was terrified, absolutely terrified, adding, I thought he was going to shoot me. Curran's call to police prompted a response that led to a 14-hour standoff. The situation ended when police obtained a search warrant to enter the residence and took Brown into custody. During the standoff, Brown posted to social media, maintaining his innocence. You're going to walk right up in here and you're going to see nothing, he said in a video posted to Instagram. Again, Instagram. Instagram, the bane of society.
At least he's being honest about
Police did not confirm any of the details surrounding the alleged altercation and described Brown as being cooperative. Brown was released on a $250,000 bail. According to jail records, his next court date is set for September 20. Brown's attorney is Mark George. He tweeted early Wednesday morning that the musician had been released and added the allegations against him are demonstrably false. In an unrelated incident, Curran is wanted in New York for questioning for grand larceny over allegations she stole a Michael Kors wallet from a friend in 2013. She and another woman were accused of taking a $1,000 Louis Vuitton purse from a third friend. So what does that mean? Why is that in the story? Well, grand larceny is theft, and it is a crime that calls into question her credibility. Okay? So if this gets down to a swearing contest between Chris Brown and Curran, Chris Brown doesn't have to take the stand, and the fact that he's silent cannot be held against him,
right?
Because of his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination, which anybody that's ever watched, I stayed in the Holiday Inn Express last night. That's, anybody, that's something most people know. Yeah. And so the story rises and falls on the credibility of someone who is presently a fugitive from justice in New York, or at least she's at least a suspect, which I don't know that would be admissible because she's just a suspect and there's been no finding of guilt. But, you could set it up right by calling her to the stand and say, have you ever been the target of an investigation for a grand larceny or theft case? And have her say no, and maybe you can get it that way. I don't know. Whatever. But Chris Brown has certainly been in trouble with the law before. And I imagine when you're a superstar with the money that these superstars have, that you are tired of people always in your stuff wanting things from you.
We could probably ask Pac-Man.
Adam Jones.
Yeah.
I really have never been anybody that really had anything, so I was never someone that you could want something from whom you could ever want something, because I really didn't have it anyway. I was the dude standing around looking at the diamonds going, can I have one? That was...
Let me have one, please.
Yeah, can I have one? Are you trying to impact the presidential election, Vladimir Putin? Niet. It's my only Russian word I know is niet.
I thought that was German.
Does that mean not yet? Oh. Otherwise, no.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that would be a very terrifying incident if it had occurred. And
well, he has a history of
that kind of thing, that very kind, and that's exactly why the fact that he has a history of it cannot be considered for whether he did it in this case, because you can't go around convicting people
of past
because
history.
they are the kind of person who does blank.
Well, she was kind of distraught because I guess she missed the cruise.
Yeah, she was trying to go on that cruise with her buddies.
Yeah. She decided to try to steal a diamond instead.
There is a street gang, and I think they're called the Hobos, which I've never heard of them. Now, there's the Crips, the Bloods, the Gangster Disciples. These guys are called the Hobos.
Don't tell me Vladimir was a member of it.
No, but every now and again, they have members of street gangs that are tried in federal court, generally under one of the RICO statutes or something along those lines. And the U.S. Marshals are alerted to the fact that there's some sort of a threat, that they'll be subjected to violence if they go through and try this person.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what appears to have happened here.
Yeah.
And if I can get the computer to open it, I'll read you the story. Good Lord, man. What in the world is going on in the studio today?
The government.
They're trying to shut you
Somebody
down.
call Vladimir Putin and find... This is from the Chicago Sun-Times, and there's certainly a lot of street gangs in Chicago.
Now, if Vladimir started a street gang, what do you think he'd call them?
Yet, he would never start one.
No. Here's a gang.
The Goosifers. Anyway, 7 members of the Hobo Street Gang, a so-called super gang, and they've got that in quotes, conglomerate of gangster disciples. Okay, I said gangster disciples.
You did.
Black disciples and others are set to go on trial for a racketeering, and I'm good, aren't I?
Yeah.
Next week in the 14th floor courtroom of the United States District Judge John Tharp. The feds have tied the gang to at least 9 murders and other acts of violence, including the torture of 2 Southside brothers with an iron. Well, that's strange to be written. 2 Southside. Okay, brothers of the gang. My bad. The trial could last months.
You got to get up on your gang lingo here.
Among the slangs are the 2013 assassination of Keith Daniels, a federal informant allegedly gunned down by Paris Poe, and the 2006 shooting of police informant Wilbert Moore, who was allegedly killed by Poe and Arnold Counsel. The murders have left federal prosecutors worried about the safety of other witnesses during and after the trial. Robinson said Tuesday the alleged hobos should be shackled during the trial because of the charges they face and their disciplinary history while in federal custody. He also told Tharp the marshals won't have the manpower necessary to simultaneously supervise the alleged gang members and people in the gallery. So what's the issue here? If you bring out guys in jail garb that are shackled to be tried, and then you impanel a jury and say, you need to presume this guy innocent. They're sitting there looking, they're sitting there looking at a guy that the judge is telling them to presume innocent because the Constitution requires it, and he looks guilty as hell to anybody looking.
He can't move.
He's shackled to the chair and in prison garb or whatever. That is something that is untenable. That will not lead to a fair trial.
No.
Because it'll violate one of the essential material protections.
Well, it sends a message without anybody even saying a word.
Yeah.
All they have to do is look at him.
him.
Go, yeah.
I mean, look at him.
Yeah, he's probably a murderer.
Now, what Robinson has said, and this is the federal prosecutor, is what we cannot account for is the associates that may attend the trial. So they're going to it's going to be the associates that do something. They can't shackle them. The men would wear leg irons covered in duct tape so jurors wouldn't hear them clinking while the men walk. A skirt would be added to the defense table in Tharp's courtroom so jurors couldn't see the shackles, Robinson told the judge. So you see that they're also trying to take pains. They cannot show people being tried for criminal offenses in jail garb shackled.
Right.
They can't do it. Tharp has already ruled once in favor of shackles, but defense attorneys asked him to reconsider, arguing none of these defendants has a history of attacking guards or being disruptive. In court, said Steve Greenberg, who represents an alleged hobo named William Ford, and he told the judge Tuesday that such a move would be terribly cruel. Federal prosecutors have also persuaded Tharp to select anonymous jurors for the trial, a move typically made in mob or terrorism cases. But Tharp made no ruling on the shackles Tuesday, telling lawyers simply this situation will be resolved before the beginning of trial, which starts September 6th. Meanwhile, federal authorities have restricted access to the courtyard on the east side of the courthouse to ensure the safety and security of all judges, employees, jurors, and visitors. They announced the move last week, but will not say what prompted it. This is something that if you're in Chicago, Michael Volpe, this is just a huge story.
Yeah,
I mean, you're trying for violation of RICO statutes, members of a super gang conglomerate called the Hobos that I didn't know existed because I've been out of the law game a while. But I've certainly heard of the gangster disorder.
They hang around the train station a lot.
The Hobos, yeah. Well, anyway, this is just a really huge issue that comes up in providing. And the real lesson here is that the law requires, from what I know as a doctor of jurisprudence, the law requires that everybody, no matter how detestable you may find them, and no matter how heinous of crimes with which they may be accused, they're all still entitled to a fair trial. Mm-hmm. And if we don't provide those particular protections, then we're tearing at the very fabric of the freedom that our forefathers promised us and that we have accepted, and for which we have died and committed life and blood. So that'll be interesting to see going forward. I mean, that's one of those trials that when you're a defense attorney, and I defended cases similar in nature to that in federal court. That's when, as a criminal defense attorney, Dean, I'm not asking anybody to feel sorry for me, but that's when
when the odds are really stacked.
That's when you start thinking there is no amount of money in the world that is enough to pay me to do this. Yeah. Those type cases ran me out of the profession. I would have quit if I had been acquitted because of stuff like that. The pressure, I'll never forget, there was a lawyer that was one of the finest trial attorneys that I ever saw that was walking into a federal RICO case in a federal court in Memphis one time, and the guy put his arm around his shoulder and whispered in his ear, "You better win." Now, for it to be a RICO case, he's either a mobster, a hobo, a terrorist, but he's, the racketeering, the RICO stands for racketeering something and crime something. It has to do, but you're a member of an organized criminal conglomerate to be tried under the RICO statute. You're not just some side, street corner guy. Yeah. And this guy was a fantastic trial attorney. He no longer practices, and obviously he won because he's alive. But the point I would make though is how many of you performing your job have ever outside of the military have ever been threatened with either dying or having your family killed if you don't produce a good outcome by someone who can make it happen? I mean, that's anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
That's pressure. Incidentally, RICO stands for the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. The key in that is organization. The Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. It's a United States federal law that provides for extended criminal penalties and a civil cause of action for acts performed as part of an ongoing criminal organization. You're getting the long version back after these messages.
A lot of real estate is bought and sold in Clarksville, and all of it has to be inspected, and it has to be done right. It's your largest investment of your life. Do you want to leave its inspection to someone who isn't the best? Of course not. 931-980-5759 gets you the best inspection services. Call Bud Wink at 931-980-5759 to get the home you are buying or selling inspected by the best inspection services. That's 931-980-5759. The best inspection services, changing the quality of home inspections one house at a time.
WJZM Radio, Clarksville, Tennessee.
Keller Williams affiliate broker Jackie Harker knows a family's most valuable asset, whether buying or selling, is the home. Jackie Harker with Keller Williams Realty in Clarksville, Tennessee would tell you her most important investment is in you. Whether buying or selling a mansion or a starter, the smart money is placed with Harker. Keller Williams' Jackie Harker will work tirelessly to make sure your buying or selling experience will be pleasant and your expectations will be exceeded. Call Keller Williams' Jackie Harker at 931-801-3946 today for all your home buying or selling needs. That's 931-801-3946. And remember, whether buying or selling a mansion or a starter, the smart money is placed with Harker. 931-801-3946. Jackie Harker. Call her today.
WJZM Radio is Clarksville's only news talk radio station. And for the best coverage of local news and current events, you can depend on WJZM Radio. Listen to WJZM Radio and live online at WJZM.com. WJZM Radio.
Many people simply believe they will never get in trouble with the law or need a lawyer, whether it's the sobering event beginning with blue lights in the rear view and ending with an arrest for DUI, being charged with a crime, or some unfortunate episode has occurred. The law office of Lynn Morton realizes you may not have planned on needing an attorney. Going to court without a professional qualified lawyer will result in disastrous consequences or an outcome in your case that causes havoc in your life for years. You need representation by a lawyer who not only has specialized knowledge, but who truly understands the anxiety, confusion, and devastation faced by someone facing criminal accusations or dealing with an array of other legal problems. Having an experienced, committed advocate like Lynn Morton on your side can make all the difference in your case. With support and guidance, you will have the ability to face your legal situation with confidence that can only come from knowing your case is in capable, dependable hands. Lynn Morton is dedicated to safeguarding her clients' rights and providing them with the attention and consideration their case and future deserve. For these most bitter moments, Lynn Morton can step forward to lend a helping hand and guide you through every aspect. Call Lynn Morton in your most trying time of need. 931-906-0000.
Since 1941, serving the public interest. WJZM Radio, Clarksville, Tennessee.
My daddy always was a gentleman, never the kind to ever force his hand. He would always be the last one to raise his voice. If anybody ever put us down, you can bet that he would stand his ground. Then he would tell me, son, sometimes you got no choice. You got to kick a little, cause a stir. Sometimes you gotta make some noise to be heard.
That's all I'm trying to do.
Is kick a little.
Kick a little. You're getting the long version. It is Weigh-In Wednesday, brought to you by the Doctor's Diet Clinic at 231 Dover Road. You can reach them 931-906-5555. Or 1-800-778-DIET 3438. They are open locally here in Clarksville. Of course, they have they're in like 24 states, but they're open locally 11:30 to 6:30 p.m. Tuesdays and Saturdays, 11:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m.
Right, yeah.
So,
somebody else the other day says, do you realize you say you're open from 11:30 to 6:30 p.m.? I said, yeah, but I said most people understand.
It shows we have listeners.
Yeah, it does.
Since people come up to you, you've had a big spike in business since you started advertising with us?
We have more new patients in the Clarksville office than we do anywhere else throughout our 29 clinics.
Leading the way. Leading the pack.
We have
those other 29, they need to come on.
Yeah.
Lord.
They also need to go to the Warriors for Justice.
Yeah, I've got this webpage that funds this message. If you go to Facebook, I have shared, today is the anniversary of the show that lost 3 sponsors.
That's a
1 year ago.
Must have been the
1 year ago today,
Springfield show.
The show was entitled Springfield Corruption. It was a story of how the Springfield police were rolling Mexican non-citizens, illegals, thinking that they wouldn't tell on them because they were illegal. And I talked about how utterly corrupt from top to bottom, at least governmentally, Springfield is, and how the Rockton County citizen deserves better. And before I could walk out the door of the studio, I lost 3 Springfield sponsors.
That's right.
That day.
I was a witness.
It's funny. My son...
Ring! Done. Ring! Canceled. Ring! Done. So anyway... That's when I looked at John Michaels and said, if I'm going to tell the truth, because Springfield is that corrupt, and because you deserve to know, if I'm going to tell the truth, the listeners to the program are going to have to help fund me.
Yeah.
If they're not willing to help fund me, then they deserve the lies that they're told.
Yeah.
And so if you want to help fund me, long version, W4J.com. You can either donate, because there's a button right there on that
That's
page.
right. You can give any amount that you would like to give.
Or you can hit Join Us
$5.
and become a member
$10.
of the Warriors for Justice for $100 a year. You have to use PayPal, or you can send a check to the long version.
Yeah.
Post Office Box 648, Clarksville, Tennessee, 37040. Or you can give through Facebook, but I don't know how to do that. I did get one gift through Facebook. I don't know how that's done. So I can't tell you how to do it.
I don't as well. I don't know.
Can I tell you a true story about Springfield?
Yeah, go ahead.
My son works for a delivery company. And there's just one place that he delivers to, and he said, I can always tell when there's been police activity. I said, how's that? He says, there's different employees in this
donut shop.
No, it's a woodworking plant, but it's always new people that I see.
Yeah.
And said sometimes different people shows up or the same people show up with different names.
Yeah, the turnover rate is pretty high.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is the year anniversary of the show that cost me, right at $1,500 a month in advertisers. They weren't going to let me talk about their dirty, corrupt city.
Because they have to live there.
Because they have to live there. It wasn't that they disagreed even.
No.
It was that, hey, man,
We live here.
But... I mean, it was worth saying. Anyway,
it is what it is.
And it is what it is. Anyway, I want to go off there today talking about a pretty special guy. And he's special because he's honest. And you don't see this a lot. The guy's name is Frank Somerville.
Oh, I think it's talking about me.
Frank Somerville is the evening anchor at KTVU. And he often sparks honest and important decisions about parenting and race on his Facebook page. So you can go look him up, Frank Somerville. Where is KT?
It's out west.
Look real fast where that is.
It's somewhere out west.
Okay, because it's K, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's across the river.
Past the Mississippi.
Anyway, this is a guy that has adopted a daughter who is black, and that's not what makes him special. But he shared the following on Facebook 2 days ago. He shared that he was walking past a bus stop at 8 p.m. when he saw a white woman sitting alone and a black man walking toward her. He decided to keep an eye on it to make sure that nothing happened to this white woman, when out of nowhere a young boy ran to catch up to the man and grabbed his hand. Somerville then knew that this was a father. Here's why he's special. He admitted that his whole perspective changed instantly when he saw that the man was a father, but he also admitted that he saw him as a personal or possible threat, and the only reason was because he was black. Somerville's honest.
Yeah.
And he's honest with himself.
Yeah.
He said, the whole way home, I was thinking to myself, I grew up in Berkeley. I have a black daughter, and yet I still have that effing bias. What in the world is wrong with me? And on top of that, he claims that he had just talked with his daughter about how people might treat her differently from her white sister based solely on her skin color. And he shares, and now here I am doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Somerville is vulnerably sharing his story to try to illuminate how strong biases can be, and says the only way to eliminate them is to realize that they are there in the first place. I hate to say I told you so, but that's how, you cannot solve a problem unless you're honest and willing to admit there is one. And I want to tell Somerville that, you're an elephant. I'm an elephant, or I thought I was. You are a white guy from Berkeley who is upper middle class, and you were able to recognize that you found the black guy approaching the white woman as threatening because he was black. And you know what? You're not alone. Where you are alone is you had the moral courage and fiber and honesty to admit that you have this bias. And you, my friend, will fix it. You'll fix it because you were brave enough to admit that it existed. Yeah. Somerville is at KTVU, which is in Oakland, California. Okay. He is... I really have to applaud you for having the courage and fiber to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And to allow your own, this self-deprecating story about your own experience to not try to hide it, but instead to use it as a way to illuminate a problem in the hopes that we can find a solution to the problem. Now, I'm here to tell you that I, in 18 years of practicing law, that being dangerous, being up to malevolent intent, being criminally bent, I never found it to be confined to any socioeconomic status, race, circumstance. I knew as many rich, white, wealthy criminals. And let me give a definition. First of all, we're all criminals. When they in the 20s, there was a challenge to the income tax that said it was unconstitutional. It was thought up into the 20s that it was unconstitutional to tax personal income. And when they decided Congress did have the power to tax individual income, one of the commentators' commentary on the subject, Dean, was you've just made criminals of us all.
Yeah.
Because everybody knew that everybody was going to do anything they could do to evade the tax.
Right.
I mean, that's done routinely.
Yeah.
We walk outside of crosswalks, and we drive over the posted limit.
Right.
We litter. And some, but we shoot Coke machines in ERs, But
I never did that. I couldn't prove it.
That's a story that I told.
Okay.
But we break the law. There's the caught and the uncaught. Not all of us are subject to the same consequences as others. But I can honestly say that I have never found criminality to be confined to any particular race or any particular economic status or circumstance.
Right.
Crime is all somewhat based on the same place as another theological moment, somewhat based on from where sin comes, and that is is putting your own objective over and above either the common good or you know, is I have to have X, and I will do anything to get it.
Yeah.
And that is really from where crime emanates.
And the reason he has this story, or this feeling, is because he has the story behind it. If he didn't have...
Well, he's an honest person.
Yeah.
And let me tell you this. By definition, we all tell lies.
Yeah.
Does my butt look big in these pants? I feel like I look old. I mean, we all tell lies. Everybody lies. But what really makes you lost, in my estimation, is when you lie to the man in the mirror. Mm-hmm. When you can't even tell the truth when it's just you. Mm-hmm. When you tell yourself a lie. That is when you're really lost.
Yeah. Because
there are some... There's an old saying in the South that everybody prunes the bushes to sell the house.
Yep.
And there's some degree of bush pruning that goes on in language.
Sometimes.
Oh, man, I'm really happy to be here. Your house is lovely.
Yeah.
You know, there are, I'm privileged to know you. Mm-hmm. There are things that we say without any thought as to whether they're entirely accurate.
Right.
But they're polite.
They're polite.
You know these people they call he's a tell-it-like-it-is guy? Mm-hmm. Those are some of the rudest people there are. And we always extol, well, he's just a tell-it-like-it-is guy. You know, telling it like it is isn't really nice.
Sometimes
they call those people rude.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going around telling it like it is, first of all, you're presuming that any of us give a damn how you feel it is.
That's true.
So, I mean, you know what? We may not care how you see things. Yeah. But if you're one of those tell-it-like-it-is guys, one of those quote-unquote brutally honest people, there is such a thing as honest to a fault. It's not necessarily a good thing. It doesn't really speak well of you necessarily. Yeah. It may mean that you have not the first shred of politeness, compunction, or civility.
Right.
And none of those are good things.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there, I don't need you to walk up to me and go, you're just a freaking loser who lost everything getting convicted of a felony and now you're a nothing radio star.
Yeah.
Or you think you're a radio star and you're a nothing radio guy on a nothing station. All of those things you may find to be true, but they're exceedingly rude, and I don't need to hear it like it is. And now, I would argue with some of those comments, but whatever.
And they're always opinionated.
You know, an opinion, just because you have an opinion, that doesn't make your opinion the truth.
Right.
But now, you're really not lost until you look in the mirror and lie. So I want to go off the air today saluting KTVU, Oakland, California's Frank Somerville. Mm-hmm. Because when he looked in the mirror, he saw what he was, and he was honest about it. He elected to share it with us so that he could help us change something in society that isn't right. There's really no reason to suspect that a black man is about to commit a crime because he's black any more than we suspect that a heavy person is lazy and that is why they're heavy, or that a beautiful person would never smuggle 90 kilos of cocaine into Australia. That's the long version. For the Doctor's Diet Clinic, Dean Barron, Fletcher Long, John Michaels, and all of us here, we're out.
I'm calling Fletcher Long. They searched the car again. They couldn't find nothing wrong. I caught a charge again. I'm calling Fletcher Long. They searched the car again. They couldn't find nothing wrong. Let me talk to my lawyer. Get him on the phone. The bow tie killer, a.k.a. Fletcher Long. When it comes to the law, I know my rights and when they're wrong. When it comes to going to...
Since 1941, serving the public interest. WJZM Radio, Clarksville, Tennessee.
There is a name in the Clarksville community we have come to associate with excellence in legal services. That name is Kimberly Turner and Associates, the attorney